Welcome to The Backstory. I'm your host, Ann Hancock Toomey. Over the course of my career, I've had the privilege to work with and learn from and guide some incredible leaders, mostly in healthcare, but not always. The Backstory is a chance for me to talk to some of them, unpack who they are and where they came from, and how it all influences who they are today and how they lead. Ultimately, each conversation offers a case study in what I'm calling authentic leadership. Let me now invite you into our conversation for the real backstory. Well, today I am delighted to spend time with Dr. Shlomit Schaal, Chief Physician Executive of Houston Methodist and CEO of its physician organization. Dr. Schaal is a highly accomplished ophthalmologist, physician executive, scientific researcher, podcaster, webcaster, speaker, mom, wife, competitive swimmer, and more. Welcome to the podcast, Dr. Schaal. What a long, impressive list that I know is just a sampling for the many hats that you wear.
Thank you very much. I'm glad to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Absolutely. While you and I have not had the opportunity to work together, my colleagues and yours tell me that they don't come any more authentic than you. You are unapologetically yourself. You are passionate. You are headstrong about making a difference in all that you do. I understand that you are very much a change agent and unafraid to challenge the status quo. I hear that you press hard on institutionalized biases to make the system better. You push your physician leaders and you invest in them to be the very best that they can be. You advocate for women in leadership. So before we even start, I feel like I just need to say thank you for the role that you play related to progress on so many fronts in our industry.
You don't need to thank me. I'm doing my job and my small part. There are many other people that are helping along and many other figures that I look up to that come before me and hopefully also after me.
As you know, this is a podcast about inspiring leaders who get results because of who they are and the environment that they create for others to grow and to contribute. And I know that we have a lot to learn from you and your backstory. So if you're ready, I'd love to dig in and learn more about your journey.
Let's dive in.
Okay. Well, you are originally from Israel, of course. I would just love to hear about what it was like to grow up there and your family.
I grew up in Israel of the 70s. My family is a family of Holocaust survivors, really first generation born in Israel after the trauma in Europe. So that was a very important part of my life, growing up in a very patriotic family. My grandmother really did not want to have any kids after the Holocaust experience and after the fact that all her family was murdered by the Nazis. But my father was an accident, and lucky me and lucky my brother.
Wow. Extraordinary. Thank you for sharing that. What would you say is something that you learned from your parents, your family, that shapes how you live today, how you lead today?
The most important thing, even beyond my parents, my mother was a career lady, so she spent a lot of time investing in her career. At the end of her career, she was a president of a small university in northern Israel. So she really left us on the knees of our grandmothers. And I do think grandmothers have a very important role to play in the lives of kids. So I got a lot of history and a lot of nurturing from both my grandmothers and a lot of appreciation for life, the importance of life, and the importance of people helping other people, because both my grandmothers would not have lived if good people would not be there to help them survive.
Yeah. Oh, that's so wonderful. I was very fortunate to have a lot of exposure to both of my grandmothers and also a great-grandmother who lived to be 106, and they both played such an important role in shaping who I am today and in connecting me to my past. And so that's wonderful to hear.
So, there is a very interesting novelist in Israel called David Grossman. And one of the things that he always says is, in order to be a novelist, you need two things. You need a grandmother and you need a balcony. And the grandmother is there to root you to your past And the balcony is there for you to look at the world from above and imagine how it could be.
That's beautiful. What was your very first job?
My very first job was lifeguard. I was a lifeguard.
Oh,
I was
yeah?
a swimmer. Actually, I was afraid of the water and learned to swim at a very late age, about the age of 9. And then after I learned the craft of swimming, I never wanted to leave the water or the pool. So I spent my summers in Israel as a teenager working at the pool, and I remember taking this job very seriously. And at the time, there were like hundreds of people in a small pool, many kids. And I remember that every shift was taken very seriously by me.
Foreshadowing for the career that you chose. That's really interesting. Who was maybe the first leader that you can remember from those days or from school or later that impacted you in ways that you really carry with you today?
I think actually the leader that I first remember is a person that I don't know his name. We lived in Iran when I was a kid. I didn't know how to swim. I was afraid of water. It's not that my parents didn't try to teach me, they did, but I was such a cerebral thinking kid, so I was afraid of the water because I knew it was dangerous. And that leader was actually a kid, and I cannot tell you how old he was, how he looked like, and I didn't understand the language that he spoke because he was French, and I did not speak French, and he spoke French. I really remember 3 things about him. One is that he had a big smile. The second thing, I remember that he extended a hand to me and helped me get into the water. And the third, and maybe most important thing, is that I felt so confident next to him that I felt that I would not be in danger. And so for me, these are what leaders are about. Words are not always the most important things, not what you say, how you say it, and how you make people feel, how you extend your hand to help others, and then really the confidence that you instill in others to do things that they never thought that they could achieve. I don't know who to give credit to, but he really shaped my life.
Yeah, left a true impression on you. Do you ever find yourself in moments where you're going into a big meeting or you're reflecting on interactions with your team today and you think, all right, was I positive? Did I have a smile? Did I extend a hand? Did I make them feel comfortable? Do you ever go through that checklist?
I think I always have a smile. That I think I was known even during my residency. People ask my patients, who is your doctor? They said, my doctor is the one with the big smile. So I don't think I need to think about the smile. I do take really intentional notice of all people in the meeting and try to give opportunity for people to express their opinions and make sure that everybody has a chance to speak, and most importantly, everybody feels comfortable in a meeting.
Dr. Schaal, I know you went to medical school and got your PhD in Israel, followed by getting your master's in healthcare management at Harvard. Tell me why healthcare? Why ophthalmology? Tell me a little bit about how you got into medicine.
Yeah, so, into medicine, I think I'm part of a generation that listened to their parents. And I actually wanted to be an architect. I love to draw, I love to paint, I like to design. And in Israel, you are drafted into the army when you are 18. And most people go and serve and then go for another year around the world. And only at the age of 25, they start thinking about which school will I go to. But for me, it was a little bit different. I wanted to continue studying. And so there is a program that the army in Israel allows a very small group of people to learn a profession before they get drafted. So there's a quota, obviously there's a kind of a race for spots. When I wanted to apply to architecture, and my father said, oh no, you're gonna apply to medicine. And this goes back to my family roots. They had a doctor in the family that did not survive the Holocaust, and they really believed that we need a doctor in the family. And I did get in, and I was the youngest in my medical school class. And actually, after the first semester, I went back to my dad and said, thank you, because this is a world that I never knew before. It opened my eyes. And you asked why ophthalmology. Ophthalmology is a profession that is very accurate, very sophisticated, and it's done under a microscope. And when I was growing up in Israel, I told you that I grew up with my mainly grandmothers, but also a grandfather. And that grandfather had a clock shop, and he didn't speak Hebrew, and I didn't speak Yiddish, so we didn't have a language to communicate. But in primary school, every time I walked with my big backpack home from school, I stopped by his shop. Didn't understand what he was saying. He didn't understand what I was saying. But he was fixing these watches under a microscope. And he taught me how to open a watch, tear it apart, bring it back together, all the little parts. And it was fascinating to me. So after I graduated from medical school, it was obvious that I would choose a profession that you do surgeries with both hands, very complex surgery under a microscope. And I knew I would be good at it because that's how I grew up.
Okay, so tell me how you got to the United States. What brought you here? When did you move to the States?
Yeah, so I had no intention to stay in the United States. As I told you, Israel, at least for my family, was a gift and a very patriotic family. And living abroad was considered almost a betrayal. So I never aspired not to live the rest of my life in Israel. But as I trained and got through my army service, medical school, residency, I was looking for a fellowship. And at that time, there were no fellowship opportunities in retina in Israel. And actually, I did my PhD in Israel too. So I was looking for a combination of doing a postdoc research work and a vitreoretinal fellowship. And my goal when I was looking for that is really to come back to Israel and become the best retina surgeon in northern Israel. That was my goal. It was a smart goal because it was achievable and timely, because at that time there were only 2 retina surgeons in northern Israel, and one of them was about to retire. So I had a 50% chance to be the best.
Yes.
When I came to the United States, it was really an eye-opening experience. I had excellent mentors at the University of Louisville in Kentucky. And I never planned to stay, but I got several awards. And one day my chairman came to me. It was very close to my end of fellowship date, and the date that I would take my family, 4 kids, and go back to Israel after 3 years in the United States. And he said, I was thinking, why don't you stay with us as a faculty member, and I'll give you your own lab, and you can see patients here, and you can have an academic career here. And for somebody that was born outside of the United States, and I think it's also true today, you always look at an American university professor as an impossible dream to achieve, really the American dream. And I couldn't believe that I was offered this opportunity. And yet, I think it was the most difficult decision that I made in my entire lifetime. I talked to many people, as I usually do when I take difficult decisions. Talk to my family, talk to friends, talk to mentors. And I will never forget that one of my mentors, a person that I really appreciate until today, and I'm in touch until today, he was a chair of ophthalmology at the time in Israel. And he told me on a phone call, when I asked him what he thinks about this opportunity, he told me, you're so talented that you can come back and probably be a department chair one day in Israel. You can become a leader here. And over there, you're always going to be a foreigner. You're always going to sweep the floors. This is what he told me. And yet I decided to stay. And now looking back, it's already 20 years since I made that decision. I'm happy with this decision.
It's extraordinary. I think it was a great decision. Not that you need my opinion, but what you've accomplished is truly probably was unimaginable for you at that time. Okay, so let's fast forward a little bit. From the University of Louisville and your time in Kentucky, you may be the only person that I know who has a Harvard Business School case study written about them and how they lead. And for those listening, I want you to drop everything after you listen to this podcast, of course, and go read Lead, Follow, or Get Out of the Way, which is a colorful commentary on Dr. Schaal's journey as the chair of ophthalmology at UMass Memorial Healthcare. I believe you told me that it was the #1 case study taught in business schools in 2023. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay, well, so quick summary on this. You were selected to turn around this small, even weak program in the face of a lot of resistance among faculty who maybe weren't keen on change. And you went in largely knowing, based on a lot of information you had gathered, what needed to happen. You had a vision, you had a plan, and the challenge was really getting people on board. It was really change management, which is near and dear to my heart. That's what we do here at Jarrard. Talk about how you overcame the pushback and kind of broke through the status quo to have the really remarkable turnaround that you did for the Department of Ophthalmology for UMass.
Back in 2016, I was the retina section division's chief at the University of Louisville. That's the world that I knew. And I didn't think that it could get better than this. One day I got an email from back then the dean of the University of Louisville Medical School. And she wrote, would you be interested in attending a AAMC conference for mid-career women leaders? And I was not interested, so I answered, no, I'm not interested. And then maybe 5 minutes afterwards, I got a phone call from my chair, Dr. Kaplan, and he said, did you really tell the dean that you're not interested? I want you to write back and say, I would be delighted. So that's what I did. He immediately said, oh, I would be delighted to attend. And those 2 days really changed my life because not many women are department chairs, certainly not many women are deans. And this was really an initiative to prepare physicians and scientists who were women mid-career to think about a leadership position. And when I came back, I got an email from a recruitment firm saying, there is this chair job at the University of Massachusetts. We thought you would be a good candidate. Would you be willing to apply? And I would have never applied for a chair job in the United States anywhere if I hadn't gone through this kind of weekend training. Back then, there was 122 departments of ophthalmology. Only 6 departments back then had women chairs. Obviously, I was not born in this country, was not trained in my residency in this country. I did all my training post-residency. So I didn't think that I would get the job. And then when I got the offer letter, talk about difficult decision, this was a very difficult decision. And I did take it, and once I took it, I realized very quickly that I had no idea how to lead a department. I was not trained for that. And I come to a department where, if you read the case, the previous leaders of those departments were not successful in lifting that department up. And what helped me, and this is really important for all the women who are listening, I went to a program called ELAM, it's Executive Leadership in Academic Medicine, and I was very lucky to go there in the first year of being a department chair. And so if you read the case, you will realize that I was completely unaware of the challenges. I was very confident. I'm a surgeon, and also I'm Israeli. We have this attitude that we can never fail. So I was never aware of all the big hurdles. And it did work out, but I can't say that it was not choppy. And by the end, when I moved here, we were one of the most successful departments at the University of Massachusetts. We established a residency program. We became from a poor department to a rich department. Our research program took off. And we were also, which is something that I'm very proud of, we were voted by our patients as the best place to get eye care in central Massachusetts. So that would never have happened in 2016 when I started. To your question, I think I credit this to the intentional, really dedication to learning what leadership is about. I had to learn. I did not know, and I had to learn it.
It's one hell of a turnaround. And there were a couple of things that I want to call out that particularly struck me and spoke to me. One was your idea board. And so how you would bring together all the various stakeholders of your department to help ideate and craft, how do we create a better patient experience? How do we create a more efficient clinical model? And you were encouraging of others participating. I think in those early days, before you had gained trust, it was like crickets, like nobody was contributing. But I will tell you, I have a love, sort of whiteboarding, idea board. We call it whiteboarding here, but idea boards are very much my love language. But the other thing that I thought was so interesting that really unlocked the potential of the idea board and getting all those stakeholders together was you bringing the front office staff into your office and sharing with them, I am a retina surgeon. I can do that all day long. I'm really good at it. But you know what I can't do? I don't know what it's like to check in a patient. I don't know how to refer a patient elsewhere. That is your gift, and you can uniquely put your fingerprints on how we make the patient experience better. And it wasn't until you were vulnerable about your own gaps, right, in your perspective and experience that they were willing to share. And I just think that's such an important leadership lesson. Vulnerability begets vulnerability.
So I think you nailed it. I think that was the moment where the turnaround happens. So the turnaround did not happen when I sat in my faculty meetings with my 24 bullet point page telling everybody we're going to do this. It exactly happened as you stated, because it really happened when I brought the front desk people to my room and I said, I don't know a single thing about checking a patient in. I don't know. And if I had to do it and answer the phone and check the chart and be nice to people, probably I couldn't do it. So you do not want me to tell you how to do it. I need to hear it from you, and I will help you. Anything that you propose, I will make it happen. But the ideas need to come to you. And another thing that I said in that conversation, I think that's important, is that I said to them, thank you for being the face of our clinics. Our patients, when they come into the clinic, the first thing they see is your face. And the first experience that they have is with you. And then also when they check out, you are the people that are the most recent memory from our clinic. So thank you for doing this. There was a silence, and then one person said, I've been in UMass for 15 years. Nobody ever said thank you. So thank you for saying thank you. And then she said, how about this? And how about that? And then it was like a snowball after that, getting the ideas, and people really understood that I'm not saying I want your ideas just to say it. I needed these ideas. But everybody felt that their voice counted and felt safe enough to say, here's my idea. And that's how we got from the starting point 7 years forward to the ending point, which was a complete turnaround and unexpected success.
Wow, it is a massive success story. So congratulations to you and the countless others I know who contributed to it. Well, why would you ever leave? You had such a wonderful village and so much success at UMass. Bring us to the present. What was it about Houston Methodist and the opportunity there that was attractive to you?
So I'm a clinician scientist. I was in academic medicine my entire life. And the natural progression of a department chair is usually to become dean. That's why I went to Elam, and they drilled it within us that success is being a chair and then being a dean. That's success. So I was lucky enough to get into a program that is run by the deans, the Council of Deans, and they have a fellowship to go through a program, an intense program that prepares you to be dean. And in that program, you shadow deans. And I had two deans mentors. One was Archana Chatterjee. She is still the dean of Chicago Medical School. And the other mentor that I had was Paul Rothman. He was the dean and CEO of Johns Hopkins. But after 1 year, I realized that probably I would be more suited on the healthcare executive side rather than the academic side. And they told me that it's going to take 3 years to get a big job in healthcare, like a leadership healthcare executive. So I better start interviewing now. Was a year and a half ago. And I saw this job at Houston Methodist. I knew nothing about Houston Methodist. I started interviewing, and as I was starting to interview, I thought, oh my God, this is a great place. And when I finally got the job offer, I was like, okay, we're going to Texas. And interestingly enough, my kids that are all living in either Boston or DC, but all on the East Coast, they asked me, why? Didn't you reach enough? Why are you moving? And the answer is that I can be influential, I can make a difference in other people's lives, I can be in a position where I can shape the next generation of clinicians, of scientists, I can make many physicians' lives better, and I can also obviously influence patients' lives, and many patients. Houston is huge, it's bigger than several states. So it's a big job. I'm very grateful that I got it. And then I moved. I took my husband and moved, and the kids are now on the East Coast, and I am in Texas, and I'm a Texan now.
You commit wherever you are. I can feel it. You are doubling down as a Texan. I love it. I know something that is very important to you, and you've mentioned it, is intentional investment in physicians' well-being and in professional development for physicians. Tell me what that looks like and what are the results that you see from it?
Yeah, I think one of the most important things that we see in healthcare is really the evolution of healthcare on the physician side, on the provider side. So we always think, when we think about healthcare, we think about patients. And obviously, we're focused on patients, we're focused on their families. But really, if you think about it, it's more complex than that. There are people on the other side. So healthcare is really people taking care of people. And we want to make sure that the people who are taking care of people are taken care of. So that became a personal top priority for me. When I started here at Houston Methodist, we are really a very good organization to work for. But then there was a gap between how satisfied and engaged our employees are, which is at the 98th percentile in the country. If you look at our physicians, we're above average, but we're nowhere next to the 98th percentile. So I went with my team on something that we call a Jimmy tour, Jimmy, Joy in Medicine Initiative. And we went and we started in primary care because nationally the data shows us that primary care physicians are more burned out than any other specialty or subspecialty in the country. My team and I went and met personally in groups of people. First of all, we provided lunch, which is a very important thing. If you want to take care of yourself, you provide food. But we asked them 3 questions. What do you do here? What's good here at Houston Methodist? And what can we do better? And we wrote it down, we listened, but we also used a press gaining crowdsourcing tool, where after these sessions we said, okay, if you have ideas of what we can work on to make your life better, this is the time to put them in. We also joined the Physician Academic Wellness Consortium, an organization that is led by Stanford but encompasses many healthcare systems, academic healthcare systems in the country. And so we took best practices from them as well, and we delivered the PWAC survey, it's a burnout survey, to all our physicians. And as we speak today, we are crafting our strategy of how to address physician wellness here at Houston Methodist, and the strategy would be according to what we heard. It's really what our physician voted and said and voiced. And we have our Jimmy Symposium, First Joint Medicine Initiative Symposium on November 1st. That's where we are going to reveal our strategy.
Wow, we work with a lot of health systems. That's a best-in-class approach, right? I mean, you can never underestimate the power of listening, because you think you know what's going on, but you don't. You've got to put yourself in other people's shoes. You got to listen and hear from them, create a space where they actually feel like they will be heard. And it sounds like now you are going back to them with an aggregate of like really meaningful path forward that's going to address some of the issues that are getting in their way.
I think also one
fantastic.
important thing that we keep forgetting, and I have actually to remind this to my own team all the time, one of the most powerful things in this tour was so many people, we asked 3 questions, right? Who are you, what's good here, and what can we do better? Most powerful question in my mind was so many people had so many good things to say, and we have to make sure we preserve, enhance what people feel and think that is good about us here at Houston Methodist. We should not only focus on things to improve, but also how we enhance what already people are saying that is good.
Okay, Dr. Schaal, I know you are a major advocate, and we've already talked about this a little bit, for women in leadership roles in healthcare. We serve an industry where the overall workforce is actually 76% women in healthcare. However, just a third of doctors are women, and less than 30% of healthcare executive roles are held by women. I would ask, what is your advice for women colleagues who aspire to lead and to be in leadership positions, but they see a lot of barriers and challenges?
The thing that I appreciate most is role models and mentors and colleagues and support. That's what helped me. I never really had a plan to become a healthcare leader. It's evolved over the years. But every step of the way, and I think we touched a little bit in our conversation about people that you can call and get advice, people that you can bounce idea through, people that you appreciate and people who appreciate you, and people that can tell you the truth of what they think. We feel comfortable around women, right? We don't feel that we have to prove anything. We can be more free. We don't feel maybe not smart enough. Maybe we don't feel shy. I know specifically from my own experience, since I became chair, is that I have more and more colleagues who are women that I can talk to and feel free to take advice from. If this happened to her, it's okay that it's happening to me, and this is how she handled it. Maybe I'm going to handle it the same way. Maybe I'm going to take a different way, but I'm not alone. And I think that feeling that you are not alone is an important feeling. So many times we feel that we need to be trailblazer, the first woman to do that, No, people came before us, even a few, and we are just part of that chain. And so my advice would be find those incredible women all over the country and the world that hold leadership position, either in your profession or outside your profession. Get connected. I know that if anybody connects with me on LinkedIn, I will answer.
I love that. That's an important rule, I think. Well, speaking of storytelling and connecting with other women, you have a webcast that you've just launched, right, this year called Women in Surgery. Tell me a little bit about that. What do you hope to accomplish through that?
So we hope to showcase the most fabulous surgeon in Houston Methodist in our system, all of them that just happen to be women. So really we want to focus on their exceptional skills, on their career path, and to learn from them. And also, by being women in a profession that is mainly male dominant, we hope to give an example for maybe medical students who are thinking, should I go to neurosurgery? Should I go to orthopedic surgery? What can I learn? We're hoping to give examples to the next generation so we can see, or we can encourage people to be less afraid, and wherever their heart takes them, to encourage that for them.
I've listened to the 3, I think, that have been published, and they're really extraordinary women and really relatable stories. I think you're trying to do something similar to what I'm trying to do, which is to create sort of a safe space to just share experiences, lessons learned. And you have a podcast too, right?
We also have a podcast called Quality Time with Dr. Schaal, and I think a podcast is getting more attention than even webcast, because you can take it anywhere and listen to it. So that's what you're doing as well. In the podcast, it's called Quality Time with Dr. Schaal. We are highlighting our own quality leaders, everything that we're doing for delivering high quality of care and safe care to our patients here at Houston Methodist, but we're also inviting national leaders where we can learn about what's going on in that space nationally.
Yes. I have loved listening to both your webcast and your podcast. And it brings me to my last question before our lightning round. And that is, I don't know how you have enough hours in the day to do all the things that you do. And so I would just love to hear a little bit about how you have juggled all the competing priorities in your life between your family, who is so special to you and you're so close to, your extraordinary career, and all the other dimensions I know that exist in life. I know you're a competitive swimmer. I don't know when in the world you have time for that, but just share a little bit about how you managed, like, just juggling all those balls and spinning all those plates.
Yeah, I think it's very important for any leader, also any human being in a professional life, if you go to people who pursue a professional career, to really understand your own priorities. And the priorities may change, but you really need to understand what they are. And there was one of the healthcare leadership courses that I took. They said, okay, tell us what our priorities are, and then tell us what your schedule looks like. And suddenly you see my priorities are 1, 2, 3, but my schedule is completely different. So I think this is a very important concept. Know what the priorities are, and then make your schedule a reflection of your priorities. And yes, priorities can change, but then make your schedule change. So you asked about swimming. Swimming and my husband, two loves of my lives, and they actually are coming together because he's a swimmer too, and we're swimming together. But swimming is absolutely a priority for me. I've been swimming my entire life since I lost the fear from water. Yes, it has to be maybe very early in the morning. Yes, it has to be maybe sometimes late in the afternoon. Maybe it has to take a lot of time in the weekends, but it is a priority. And the competition thing, I think, apart from being fun and traveling for swimming, the competition is really to keep me honest. We know that the results don't lie.
Fantastic. Okay, I lied. I do have one more question before lightning round, and that is, I can't help myself. I enjoy spending time with you so much. We've talked about this kind of throughout our conversation, but I would love for you to boil it down for me if you can. And that is, as you think about leaders that you admire and really your own journey, what would you identify as the 3 characteristics of the most effective leaders?
Yeah, so Anne, I really began to know you in this conversation and started liking you even, but this question always brings me hives. What are the 3 characteristics? And the reason is that there is no leader. There are many good leaders, excellent leaders, but it doesn't mean that they have to have 3 things, exactly 3 things, or it doesn't mean that all the great leaders have one quality. It's more complex than that. And what I have learned, and this is true for me, but I don't think it's true for every great leader. And the first and top thing that I value is really integrity and trustworthiness. When I look up to leaders, and many leaders in my life, I look up to people that I can believe that what they say is what they mean and what they can do. They're not hiding anything in their pockets. There's nothing that you need to dig in deeper to understand. So I'm a very straight shooter, and I love people that...
You're calling me out on my own podcast. You are a direct shooter. I love it.
Yes, I did. No, I am direct, and I never have anything hidden in my pocket. I tell you the way that it is, and if I'm wrong, I'm going to apologize. If I made a mistake, I will admit it, and I have no problem with that. Another thing, to your question, what makes good leaders, really the ability to communicate. So people can have great vision. People can be brilliant. But if you are a leader, you need to be able to communicate the vision in a very simple way, simplified way, so people understand and they can follow you. You can never be a leader if nobody is following you. So this is the second thing. And if I had to pick a third, see how I'm complying to your rules?
See that? Good job.
So, and the last one, I think, and this is from being a swimmer, an open water swimmer, is really the consistency of a leader. When I swim, I know that I'm swimming from this shore to that shore, and that's my direction. So the consistency of a leader to lead, be sure we're going in that direction, and not every day wake up and say, you know what? Yesterday I told you you're going to go this way, but today we're going to go that way, and then next week it's going to be something different. that really creates so much anxiety among your team. That doesn't mean that you don't have flexibility to change over time, but just be consistent so they know that they can trust you and follow you. So sometimes you need to do things that you've never done before and even opposite to what you're used to. How would you do that? You only can do that if the person you're following is consistent.
Well, I completely agree with that. Thank you. I know that was hard for you because it's hard to boil it down, right? To just 3 things, but you've given us so much to think about today, and I'm really grateful to you for sharing so much of your experience and things that you've learned, and it's just, this has been delightful. And now we're headed into what I like to call lightning round, Dr. Schaal. And so I'm going to go through just a series of very quick either ors and questions. They're supposed to be fun, and please just give me your gut.
Okay.
Okay, you ready? Okay, early bird or night owl?
Early bird.
How do you start your day?
Swimming.
Every day?
Try to, aspire to. It doesn't work out that way, but aspire to, absolutely, even in the weekends.
Wow. Okay, I think I know the answer to this, but I don't want to assume. Favorite Olympic sport?
Swimming.
Ding, ding, ding. Book you are reading now?
I always read business books, okay? So I can tell you the book that actually I love the most, and this book is really good to great. Everybody can learn that, and that's actually the way that I look at my life. It's, okay, you have to even improve more. So you have to continuously grow. But I'm reading business articles and business books all day long. I'm that boring.
Okay. Favorite thing to do with your family?
We swim. My husband swims, my kids swim. We love going on swimming and biking vacations. And recently, as I'm aging, I actually like to do nothing with them. I just like to see them. And I recently do not need to do anything, just to see them and be with them and just admire the amazing people that they are.
Okay. All right. I'm going to steal one from your podcast and ask this question. What's a piece of advice that you would give your younger self?
Slow down. Slow down. Yeah, that's the advice I would give to my younger self. I'm giving to my present self, and it's very hard for me to follow. But I think there is great value in being slow, if you will. One thing that I did that I'm very grateful for is that I started to write a journal when my mother was very ill in the last year of her life. And that was already many years ago, because I wanted to remember all the dinners that we have, the things that she said, the stories that she told. And it's an electronic journal on an app. And now I have already more than 14 years of information, like entries that I entered in that journal. So my advice to my younger self, to my present self, and to everybody that is listening, slow down.
Wow, what a gift. That brings us to the end of our time together. Dr. Schaal, this has been such an honor, such a pleasure. I mean, you're just fun to talk to. Your experience is unmatched. Your journey is so inspiring. And I'm really grateful to you for the time that you've given me today. So thank you very much. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.